Good morning, everybody. All right, let's get a little life in this. I'm happy to be alive. Good morning, everybody. Good. I'm in the right place with beautiful, beautiful people. Thank you, Ernie, for the bowls. It's so nice to hear you play them. I always think those are Ernie's bowls for some reason, but no, but you do a darn good job. I'm Reverend Tress Phillips, by the way. And I am happy that you have come here physically to join us, and I'm happy for you who are joining us online, live stream, or a month from now you may want to watch us, but thank you for joining us. I have a few announcements. Reverend Judy is doing a summer mastermind clinic. It will be held again this Wednesday, July 14th, at the center at 7:15 p.m. And you bring yourself a notepad, pen, and a willingness to grow your own good. So I envision all these gardens with my own good popping up all over it. So sounds exciting. Reverend Judy, is there anything else you want to add? Pat would like to. Come on up, Pat. You have to speak into a mic.
Casino next weekend, eh? Yay! 16th and 17th. And bingo this Wednesday. Okay. Lots of love.
Thank you. And if you're available for bingo, you can contact Marianne Lee, 403-307-5874. And thank you so much, Pat. Okay, now we have the Growing Spirits Circle, and those are the children. And the word for the Growing Spirits Circle is prayerfulness. You practice prayerfulness by becoming very still and turning to God. Let God know what is in your heart as if you were talking with your best friend. You have to listen too. Without the listening part of prayer, it is like dialing someone's number on the phone and then hanging up before they can answer you. That's so funny when I hear that. Becoming very still and listening for an answer is a way to connect your spirit to the great spirit that we call God. So the affirmation is, God always answers my prayer. So would you repeat with me? God always answers my prayer. And now we have an opening affirmation. It's on our purple sheets. If you will read with me. Today I am confident, expecting and accepting only good. Every door is open to me. Health, prosperity, wisdom, and joy are my divine inheritance. I am ready to accept that inheritance, to enter into my joy and sit down on my throne. The kingdom of heaven is here and now, and so it is. And I would like you, if you so wish, to join me in a meditation. Just close your eyes, be still, and be with the now moment. And feel the essence of who you are. You individual, wonderful, unique, creative person. This is who I am speaking to. What a joy it is to be here right now. Because the joy is like opening a wonderful book. So many things to discover. So much of it is our story. And we are the only ones who can speak and live our story. For each of us are a gift, and each of us have a very precious message to share. So as I look around today in my mind, all those I meet and those I'm not meeting at the moment, I know the connection to God, to the divine mind that each of them are. And I see the truth of everyone I meet as a gift to the world. A gift exactly the way they are. I ask you to honor that gift within you today. And I say thank you for being here today, for you are very special. We each are very special, for we are all one with the divine. And together we say, and so it is. And now I get to introduce Reverend Val Benedict, and she is speaking on, is your commitment bigger than your resistance? That sounds exciting. Reverend Val.
There we go. Well, it's good to be here in front of people. Some of my fellow ministers were talking on the listserv this week about being nervous about all of a sudden being back where there's people listening. You're not just talking to a camera. So it's, whoo, but I'm okay. I'll do it. So this monthly theme, this is pulled by vision. So we know this thing that we'll be pulled by vision until through cheesecloth if we need to. Vision will pull us until we get there. The talk title is Your Commitment Bigger Than Your Resistance? This month we take the opportunity to revisit the principles, the spiritual principles of our teaching, and using them to launch as a launch pad for a fuller expression of the vision. I don't know about you, but I've made commitments in January on New Year's that I haven't gone through with necessarily. I've gung-ho when on New Year's I'm going to make this commitment. The big one is going to the gym. I'm going to get fit, I'm going to get healthy, I'm going to lose weight, and I join a gym and I go for a while and then I don't. And why do we do that? Statistically, 12% of everybody that joins a gym in January quits within 5 months. They say that 6% of the fast food industry drops in January when people join the gym, but it comes up pretty quick. 4% of the New Year gyms quit by the end of January. So we make this commitment, so we think, but our resistance is quite often bigger. I know, to me, I go to the gym, well, it isn't working instantly. Like, I go work out and I go stand in front of the mirror and go, I must be 10 pounds lighter. I worked so hard. I sweated so much, and I'm not. So I go back again, and it's still not working as fast as I want it to. And then I drive past Dairy Queen. And my resistance to Dairy Queen is not very strong. So Tam McKeeve says that the reason we do that is because we're living in a dollhouse instead of a mansion. We live in that smallness of ourselves rather than looking at the bigger picture and being led by vision. So when we get that commitment, we want to be healthier, we want a new career, we want a new house, our spiritual practices, we want to enhance them, and we want to live a more authentic life. Our resistance often wins. Usually it has a lot to do with the fear of failure, and we sabotage ourselves because we're not living up to our expectations. Going back to the gym, I work out, it's not working, not working fast enough for me. I'm failing, so might as well fail big. I'm going for the ice cream and the pasta. To heck with this working out stuff. But principle is never bound by precedence. It seems as humans we live in that tendency to slip back into what hasn't worked in the past. And we quit trying to step forward into that new expression. Because, I failed losing weight last year, so why should I try it again this year? I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to go to Dairy Queen. So we have that tendency of viewing the vision in the context that the past events and circumstances are, and trying to bring those lessons into now. And that's what we need to have, that vision to see that it can be different. And our vision is a mystical glimpse of the infinite possibilities urging itself into expression through and as us. So Michael Beckwith, the founder of Agape Center, and is known to be the brain behind the creative taking the creative visualization a step further into what he calls visioning. It's that visioning, the resistance, he says, the resistance, that's that outside vision of ourselves. It's what other people are thinking of us, what they're telling us we should be, how we should move forward. So that's the resistance, where you open a magazine, you turn on your TV, you're being told that you're not good enough. You're not pretty enough, you're not skinny enough, you're not, sexy enough, you're not, active enough. So we're always thinking that, we're not enough. So we resist what we don't have in our vision. So I don't know, but, I go for a job interview. And the first thing they ask you is, what are your goals for 1 year, for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? Heck, I don't know what my goals are tomorrow. When I'm honest, I say, I don't set goals because I'm not going to keep them. I know I'm not. So I just go ahead and I don't know if I'm going to be around tomorrow. None of us do. So to do that, and we're often judged on that because they want us to be dependent on setting what they think is their idea of success. Are you successful because you've got a bigger job or a bigger house? Or are you successful because you're living your authentic life? You're happy and you're doing what you love. So when I've gone for a job interview, nobody has ever asked me, what is your vision? They want that concrete in the reality of the world that they call reality, is that's what they want, because we've been brainwashed into believing that we have to have those reality things, where reality is all the universe wants us to do is to live a happy, successful life. Beckwith also says that commitment is that inside vision. You have to feel, you have to desire that pulling from the universe to stay committed. And the further you get with your goals and visions, when you go inside and listen to that inside voice. Tama Keeves, the author of Inspired and Unstoppable, says that the calling, instead of calling it a calling, because that's kind of a, almost a push, like somebody's telling you to do something. Look at it as an invitation to collaborate with the bigger picture of who and what you are from the universe. Like, collaborate. I love that. I'd rather collaborate with somebody than be told I have to do something. I'm a little bit stubborn that way. You tell me I have to do something and I go, whoa, nope, not doing it. And that was when I became a minister. I went kicking and screaming. I never wanted to be, I wasn't going to be a practitioner. I wasn't going to be a minister. There's no way. And I was looking at what I would have to give up to become that. When I look back at my childhood, I probably should have known that it was an invitation to live a bigger, more authentic life, because I love church. When I look at my family, we had 14 grandchildren, very close together. Out of 14 grandchildren, 2 of us are regular churchgoers. And I was the only one that would go out partying on Saturday night and show up at church on Sunday, because I loved it. I started teaching Sunday school when I was 12, because I didn't like the way that they were threatening children, like, Jesus loves you, but if you don't sit in that chair, you're going straight to hell. So I started teaching Sunday school when I was 12 years old, because I just loved church. I loved the singing, I loved the community, and I continued going to church for most of my life until I taught Sunday school until my kids were teenagers. And then I stepped out of it, and I quit going to church altogether until I found the Centers for Spiritual Living. So when I found that in Kelowna, I was 50, and I absolutely loved taking the classes. They let me be creative. The first year you get to do projects. For every quarter of the year you get to do a big project. And I love to do crafts, and I had all these tools in the garage, so I made huge, elaborate projects. So that was my first year. I kept saying, I'm coming back because you let me do my projects. Not for the teaching or anything. I just love to do the projects. And then they went to practitioner because I wanted to take more classes. And no, I'm not going to be a practitioner. But I realized when I thought I failed my practitioner exam that it was my invitation to express myself in a bigger way, not live my small self. So I stepped into that. And then I can remember Dr. Deb Gordon came up to me on the Sunday, and she says, are you coming to ministerial class next week? In my mind, I'm going, there's not a hope in hell. No way am I going to be a minister. I opened my mouth to say no, and out came, of course I am. I wouldn't miss it. So is that my vision? Was my vision from when I was a child carrying through into where I was when I wasn't paying attention, when I wasn't trying to control things? Part of the reason I didn't want to be a minister was because of what my family would say, what my friends would say. Because I kind of like to have a good time now and then. And they seem to think that being a minister, you can't enjoy yourself anymore. You have to, live this straight life. You can't, go out dancing. You can't, go to a party or anything because you're a minister. You can't do that. So most of my family are going, you're going to be what? My one cousin just said, can you still have a glass of wine with me? And I said, of course I can. She says, okay, I'm in. But that was that taking that from the outside, everybody else's beliefs of what they thought I should be and what they thought I should do, rather than what was coming from the inside of me and trying to express itself. So is your commitment greater than your resistance? Where and how are we resisting that transformation? And are we willing to release what is stopping us from taking that next step into our commitment? We are invited to revisit our why. What are we willing to recommit to in order to advance in our directions of our vision? When I finally stepped into, even in ministerial class, when things would start getting a little bit too close, I was going to quit. And I have to tell you, Dr. Ken and Dr. Deb were pretty crafty, because they would say, oh yes, of course you can quit, but we have to talk to you first. We can only talk to you right before class. So I'd go in and they say, okay, yeah, you can quit, but you have to come in and tell the class that you're quitting. So I'd go into class and there was no way I could quit. So I just sat through it and went to it. And it was my calling. So that was, what can I commit to? What can I change my vision to be that, of that bigger thing? One of the greatest stumbling blocks in man's spiritual adventure, and this is from Ernest Holmes, is that dishonesty, that refusal to honestly face an idea, that if that idea happens, you're going to be happy. I kept resisting that I could be who I am authentically, because it was not what I'd pictured myself as or anybody else had pictured me as. So that part comes from the human tendency to take the line of resistance, whether in our physical endeavors or in the operation of our mind. And confronted with an idea that reputes one that we've held for years, we go far out of our way, entirely around the idea, to keep from being compelled to analyze and to change it. Like I said before, I'm pretty stubborn, and to change my idea of who I was, a mother and a housewife. I wasn't a minister that could stand in front of people and talk. There was no way I was going to do that. But I had to step out of myself and become something that I didn't think I could be. Be honest with myself that this was what I wanted to do. I wanted to teach. I wanted to speak. I wanted to be with people. So back of the fear is the fear that the idea may be forced into our consciousness, which will uncover us to our own responsibility. And that's from Ernest Holmes in his book, It's Up to You. So when I go back to when I was becoming a minister, I had to release what I thought a minister was as well. I grew up in the Anglican Church, which is almost Catholic. So the minister wasn't expected to have fun. He wasn't expected to be able to go on vacations to Mexico. He could go camping with his family, but he wasn't to leave his family behind and go do anything. So I had to release that idea to move on. What am I not missing being a minister? Nothing. My life is basically the same. I did change, and people said, oh, you changed. You've changed since you've become a minister. Yes, I have, because I've quit trying to live somebody else's life, somebody else's idea of what I am. I say, yeah, I've changed. I've evolved into something bigger and better. So what we have to ask ourselves is, how does God want me to show up? How does God want me to show up? Listening to that small voice in your head that sometimes we don't listen to. We're listening to the big noise out here, and we don't go inside. So how does God want me to show up today? And that's something we can ask ourselves every morning when we get up. So when we lift the anchor, that pain pushes, like a boat has that you anchor your boat, and the boat still moves around, but it's anchored. So, but when you lift that anchor, think of the places you could go. One of my favorite quotes is, I've got to think it here now. A boat in harbor is safe, but is that what it's made to do? I could have sat in my little family cocoon and never stepped out of where I was. I grew up in Edmonton. I got married and moved around. I moved 17 times in 25 years. And every time I moved, I took on a new career. So it was, I've done just about everything. So but I could have stayed in my nice cozy little cocoon in Edmonton and never stepped out. But that isn't how God wanted me to express myself. He wanted me to go out and try new things. So our statement from CSL is, we envision humanity awakening to its spiritual magnificence and discovering the creative power of thought, a world where each and every person discovers their own personal power and ability to create an individual life that works within a world that works for everyone. So this vision statement isn't about the world as such. You notice it says your own personal power. Because when you take your personal power and you run with it, the world is going to change. It has to change. And when you think that if all of us took our personal power, and how fast we could change the world together. One life at a time, as they say, just one life at a time. So as an individual expression of the one infinite reality, we have access to the infinite wisdom and intelligence of the ultimate reality. It flows through us, as us, to the degree that we set our previous ideas aside and become aware and conscious of the impression that we can have of the universal spirit. They say direct revelation is available to us through our intuition and can be intentionally cultivated through visioning. So they describe, this is from Home Office, say visioning is consciously opens us to be receptive to the impress of the universal spirit. Visioning is the practice of cultivating the field of consciousness and illuminating what wants to emerge into form, without preconceived ideas or limitations. Visioning has a specific methodology and can be used individually or in a group. So visioning is that deep process that turns us inward and asks yourself, what are you meant to be? Creative visioning is that creative visioning came out first, and that was the visioning boards. You cut out pictures and you put them on the board. And that's a rapid photo of others' ideas of success. Because I know I used to do mine, and I'd put like a cruise ship and a sports car and a nice house by a lake and maybe a really good looking man. You know, and that's all that there's nothing wrong with doing a visioning board, because that gets your creative impulses going so you can look at bigger things. But it's about that material thing. That's about that material world usually. And it's how you the house, the career, whatever. And visualizing is, or visioning, or the creative visualization is about what you already know. You know that car is there. You know that house is there. Visioning is taking on, is reaching out of your paradigm and going further and getting out of your fur-lined rut that you have, that you need that out there. And it begins with that spiritual idea. And it's finding it that way that the universe wants you to express yourself. So the question to ask is, what is the universe's idea of my life? Not what is my idea of my life, what is your idea of my life? What is the universe's idea of my life? Michael Beckwith presents this idea. Behind every problem is a question trying to ask itself. Behind every question is an answer trying to reveal itself. Behind every answer is an action trying to take place. And behind every action is a way of life trying to be born. I love that. Just takes that whole series and brings it down to it's how we are trying to express ourselves. How we express ourselves is the important thing. How the universe wants us to express ourselves. True transformation renders the previous version of us is wholly unrecognizable. Just as something as the caterpillar, when he's this little slug-looking thing, and he's compelled by the universe. He doesn't say, oh geez, I must go attach myself to this twig and make myself something different. He just is, the universe just takes him to this twig. All of a sudden he's spinning his web around him, his cocoon, and then he dissolves completely and comes out as something different. Breaks out of that cocoon, and he's a butterfly. And that's that vision that pulls us closer to God's highest expression. You think, that little thing is just crawling along on the ground one day, and the next day he's flying. I love the saying also that the butterfly can't see the beauty of its own wings. And quite often we're that way. We can't see our own beauty sometimes. It takes someone looking at us from outside to say, oh my God, you're so beautiful. And we all are. So that's that vision pulls us into that closer God's highest expression of itself as us. Because we are all one, and we are all of God, as God, through God, and that we're expressing that idea of what God wants us to be. So are you ready to transform by renewing what's in your mind, changing your mind? Are you ready to embody something completely different and unrecognizable? Is your commitment greater than your resistance? I remember in class, Dr. Ken used to always say that if you're hanging on here and you want to go over to there, you're going to have to release there, because I can't reach there until I let go of something here. And then I can step into something bigger. But as long as we're hanging on to what we had and what we were, we can't go forward. So what are you ready to release, to step forward? Allowing life's highest vision of itself to be known in our individual human awareness opens us up to a completely new idea, a wholly new experience, to a direct experience of the mind of the infinite, which is our mind. It's my mind, it's your mind, it's everybody's mind. So we've got to release and let go. That song, I release, I let go, I let spirit run my life. So I had to release that idea of what I thought life needed to look like, what others thought my life needed to look like, and to allow spirit in to guide me to what was really in my heart, what I was feeling in my heart, and what I was afraid to express because it didn't fit what my idea was. I needed to unravel my own physical version of myself. I needed to break free of that cocoon and step forward. So they say that faith is the belief in the substance of things not seen, not a guaranteed replica of our mental prototype. The substance of the unformed God stuff is which everything is made, including you. Faith is the spiritual conviction that we know has greater power than any apparent material appearance and or resistance. Thus in faith we can surrender into the vision of our I am and know that the deepest level of our being, that is the Father, Mother, God within us, that does the work. And that's from Diane Harmony from the 5 Gifts of an Abundant Life. So that faith, take that leap of faith. You might fall, but has any of us not fallen? You get up and you bounce back and you take another leap. Just sooner or later there's going to be something that's going to catch you. So the call for action this week is, are you willing to trust that which has already made you perfect to manifest itself as an even greater expression of life as you than you can even imagine. That's what that visioning is. That's taking that idea bigger than you could ever imagine yourself to be. The resistance is that staying where you were, imagining that little living in the dollhouse, as Tamakiv said. So when you step out of that, you have a bigger imagine than you could ever possibly have imagined before. Are you willing to move from probability to possibility? When you let go of what you think you are, possibility is anything. You can be anything, anywhere. Are you willing to lift your anchor, to surrender control, and to dive into the depths of your greater being? There's that control word. Let go of the control, and who knows? The affirmation for this week is, I release my resistance and I commit to the highest vision for myself. And repeat that after me. I release my resistance and I commit to a highest vision for myself. So I'm going to challenge you for this next 30 days. In the morning, when you get up and you're doing your spiritual practice, ask your inner self, what do you want to express as me today? Write down the first thought that comes to your mind and just focus on being that for the day. It might be something simple like love or kind, or maybe it's just productive. Just write it down, and at the end of the day, think about it, journal about it if you journal, and write down the ways that God has expressed through you into the world that day. Namaste. Oops.
Thank you, Reverend Val. That was a super message. So, do we go out and let go of what we thought our good was, or what was enough good for the past, and open ourselves to something greater? I know that we are each able to do that. So we get into the prosperity section of our service now, and let's read our prosperity affirmation together. I am consciously aware of the abundance and the potential of the ever-expanding universe. I accept my right to be here and to experience life in joyous and abundant ways. I make the choice to say yes to life and accept all it has to offer. I give freely and receive with gratitude, and so it is. And during our year and a half of not having bodies in the seats in the center, we've started just placing a basket up front. So if you have a donation to make after the service, just come up and drop it in the basket if you would. And with that, let's go to our closing affirmation. There is something within me that has the answer to every question, the wisdom and the strength to meet every challenge. As I learn to trust this inner power, I experience peace and harmony in all my affairs. Spirit is active in my life. I am truly blessed, and so it is. And now if you would just join me in a closing spiritual mind treatment. Simply relax with me and know the good of this day. It is a blessed day, a day of sunshine and rain, of green grass and distant skies. A day of knowing that we are one with those skies and with the earth beneath our feet, with all of the good that the universe has to offer. I give loving thanks, knowing it is mine to accept, to allow, to celebrate. And so it is.